The pirate's paradise. Why the publishing industry has become a soft target for pirates. Good evening. Many thanks for joining us. This is the Trading Bell. We are coming to you from the trading floor of Nairobi Securities Exchange. Remember, it is Thursday, and today we also be looking at how the market has behaved in the last 1 week. But for now, I want to talk to Simon Ngigi. He's the Managing Director of Longhorn Publishers. This is the only publicly quoted publisher in the region, and I'll be finding out from him what is the impact of piracy to publishers. Well, let's hear from him.
Hi, Brad.
Nice to meet you, Simon.
Nice to meet you, Brad.
Welcome to the Trading Bell, please.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much indeed for joining us on the Trading Bell.
My pleasure.
For 71 years, you have been in this business. You have seen the good, the bad, and the ugly. Is this the ugliest you have seen?
Thanks, Brian, and thank you so much for having us. Longhorn is very proud to come for this interview. We have been in business for a long time, probably one of the longest periods for an indigenous Kenyan company from 1946. And so far, we were there when Kenya got independence, and there were just about 7 million people and about 2 million in school, to a point where we now have 14 million children in school in all the categories. Education becoming more of a focal point for national development, and us playing a key role in transforming everybody, including yourself, who has passed through the education system in Kenya, to whoever they are today. So we are very proud to have done our part and continue to do our part in developing a robust reading culture in the country and dissemination of knowledge throughout our country and as well as the region. But back to your question, I think we have reached a stage like any other industry where we are getting disrupted. And the disruption is coming from various points. Some of them are opportunities to re-engineer ourselves and become better and more efficient, but some others are brought by factors beyond our control that probably require government guidance, government intervention, and government support. We have a very robust industry, Brian. We started with about 2 or 3 publishers a few decades back, and we've now gone to 100 plus publishers in this country. And would you believe it, about 40% of our turnover is exported out of Kenya. So we are making a major contribution to exporting knowledge, exporting books, and bringing foreign exchange into the country as a publishing industry. And when we compare ourselves with others in the market, we've made very, very major strides that require some recognition. Longhorn has been there all that journey. As a pioneer of that industry, we have a sizable percentage of the market share, and we have probably the largest offering of products across the board. We don't just deal with school children, we also deal with adults. So we have segmented our business into 10, and so we cover the entire publishing range. So whatever you need from us, if you need a book for your nursery school child, we have it. If you need a book for the university's child, we have it. If you need a book for yourself to read, it's also there.
You have everything.
Yeah.
Now, it is said that the bigger the target, the harder to miss. I want to hear from you, because you control about 17% of the publishing market. How hard have you been hit by copyright issues?
Right. Like any other industry, I think the music industry has also faced very significant challenges and difficulties during our time. But digitization is making it harder and harder for one to actually control what they own. But also criminal activities, because the Copyright Act is very clear. It's a criminal offense to take someone else's work and use it for commercial gain without that other person's permission. And unfortunately, we spend millions and millions of shillings developing the books that we have, including all the materials we have in our e-learning platform. But some characters in our society have found it necessary to use that work and commercialize it for their own good. They don't pay royalties, they don't pay government taxes. Obviously, they are stealing someone else's work. This is taking 30% of our turnover. Last year, we lost 450 million shillings of our turnover.
It's Longhorn.
To counterfeit, as Longhorn alone. Our industry still loses 6 billion. Longhorn has lost 450 million, which is very huge if you think about it.
Yeah, that's almost 10%.
30% of that would have gone to the exchequer. A sizable number of that would have gone to our local printers who would have done the printing for us. Others will have gone to social activities. Others will have gone to our shareholders. But all of that is lost and will continue to be lost unless certain things are done. But Brian, the real problem is, if you counterfeit my product, the law only gives 800,000 fine as a maximum. But the people who are counterfeiting our products are bringing them in 40-foot containers from Asian countries, worth millions and millions of dollars. So obviously is an incentive if someone is aware that the worst that will happen to him is to pay 800,000. And the container load is worth 2, 3, 4, 5 million shillings. So we are working with the government through the Kenya Copyright Board, KECOBO, in the state law office with the Attorney General, and just make sure that the registration is made even more punitive. And it should be the number of times of what you have counterfeited. So if you've counterfeited 1 million, it should be like 5 times. You should pay the fine of five times that. So that is already working. But as I said, 30% of our industry has been killed by piracy or counterfeiting of our products. We have tried our best to come up with tags at the back of the books. If the parents are watching, they could actually look at the back of our books, selected books, and you'll find something that you can scratch, and there will be a number there, and when you do an SMS on that number, it will tell you whether the book is a counterfeit or not. Those kind of efforts are from us as private sector. But because of the immense contribution we make to the government, we would want to ask that the KECOBO or the Kenya Copyright Board does more than it's doing. It's doing a fantastic job, but it can do more, and make sure that this counterfeit is eliminated.
And so as an industry, it's clear that you're taking steps. Are you convinced that, KECOBO, which ordinarily is supposed to check copywriters on check, do you feel they are working at the right pace?
I would say so. In all fairness, this is a government department. The head there is very switched on. He helps us to do raids all over the place. We did one in Naivasha 3 weeks back, and we found books worth probably 5 million shillings. Prosecution is going on. But I think the crux of the matter, Brian, is the penalty that the courts will impose after that criminal activity has been proven in court. 800,000 versus, it does nothing to prevent. In fact, it is actually probably better for someone to counterfeit than to go through the whole process, because they'll only have to pay a fraction of the offense that they have made. So that's the crux of the matter. It can only go through Parliament, of course, and that's the process that we are working on. But piracy, for us and the music industry, has been one of probably the major problems affecting our industry and our growth. And unfortunately, it's also getting children the wrong information, because some of them are counterfeiting the wrong product. So you find page 1, and the next page is page 60, and so on. So we are actually confusing the children.
And when you look at it, we are talking about 30% of the industry, being, of the material in the industry being pirated. Do you see the situation getting worse or getting aggravated, or the government is likely to arrest the situation?
I want to give credit to the government. I think it's, from what we are seeing, especially with the raids that are being done now, the tightening of the legislation, the willingness of KECOBO and the state law office to work with us, the warm feeling between the KECOBO and the Kenya Publishers Association and the music industry. I think it's all pointing to a change for the better. It's pointing to a change for the better. But the losses are still very huge, extremely huge, and worrying. And this problem also affects the region where we operate. As I told you, the industry exports 40% of what we produce to other markets in Uganda, Rwanda, and other African markets.
And talking about other regional markets, we know that you operate in Uganda, Rwanda, Tanzania, Ethiopia. Do they suffer from the same challenge that you face here, or they have totally different problems to deal with there?
To some extent they do. But for those, there are some models that they have adopted that are different from ours. For example, for us, we use the open market approach, where a teacher makes a decision on whether to use a Longhorn product or a competitor product. Lots of times they use Longhorn product. But in other markets, the government makes that decision. So they simply say, standard 1 maths will be done by Longhorn. And in that case, then there will be no piracy, because Longhorn will be required to send the book all the way to the school. So depending on the model that they use, piracy will be controlled accordingly. But where there is an open market concept, like in Kenya, Zambia, and in other countries, then the counterfeiting becomes a real menace, because the books are available everywhere through the bookshop chain.
Then do you think it is high time that we adopted the controlled system?
Probably not, because the benefit of using the open system as of now far outweighs the controlled one from the government. Kenya has advanced in terms of book ratio from the children because of using the publisher, bookshop, and school model. And allowing the teacher to make a decision between 5 or 6 publishers, which is the best book to use. In other markets, we find that whereas the government may control that and control the purchase decision, the book may not necessarily be the best. and there is no choice across the board. And if there is corruption in any of the countries and the books don't reach the school, then those children will be without books for years, like a neighboring country.
And
So-
talking about the government, and we know we have seen very deliberate efforts by the government to digitize learning in this country. How is this likely to impact your business?
Right, digitization is the way of the future, and we have embraced this as the way forward. There is no way around it. The time to make education more accessible and easily accessible is now. And there is no question about it. Our major concern is, are we going to be allowed to send our digital material and sell them to the government? The problem has actually been that the government may also be taking the same role of developing material, digital materials, to the exclusion of publishers in some cases. So our hope is that the government will see it fit to allow us to also supply digital materials to school as an association. We've done a lot of work. We've invested over $1 million right now to digitize all our products. They are all available in our proprietary e-learning platform already. If you just go to Google Play and you type Longhorn, you will see it there. And you can buy the books through M-Pesa and many other options that you would like. That is the model we would like to adopt, so the teacher still uses that chance to decide which book is good for their children, and then they learn it through the new laptop project that is there. Now, back to your question. When you have the laptops be distributed in the manner that we have been told will be distributed, in which case there will be laptops for every child, then that will be the most effective method of, one, dealing with piracy, because encryption technology that we adopt is far superior than obviously someone going to photocopy your book. So that obviously will deal with that. Then the cost of the book is going to be at least half of what the hard copy is, because there is no physical book available. So that again is a very major positive thing. And obviously, once you sell the rights to the government to circulate across the board, you can be able to sell 1 million rights to 1 million children at a click of a button. And therefore, access of education material will be so much easier across the board, both in Kenya and in other markets. If you look at our Kenyans in the diaspora, they all connect to our education system. They would like to read storybooks and other things that will remind them of their own country. Right now, to send them books to the US and Canada and other places will be very difficult. But now they are able to access it right there.
Simon,
so we are seeing benefits coming from that.
Simon, because we have to come to the end of this interview, I want also to find from you, last year you raised about $500 million shillings from the Kenyan market for expansion purposes. You have talked about investing 100 million shillings, into the digitization process. Which other investment areas are you targeting?
Yes, we were at this exchange, we were actually ringing the bell right here, and we got 500 million shillings from our investors. That showed, under the difficult trading circumstances of the time, you recall what had happened with the banks and other things, that people still had a lot of faith and confidence in publishing as a sector, and with Longhorn and its management and its shareholders. And we got a seal of approval from our majority shareholder right here, Centum, who agreed with our strategy. Our strategy was pillared in 3 main areas. One was digitization, and we spent $1 million ensuring that we have digitized all our products. That has come to play, and as I've said, we are now making sales across the board, including other markets like Rwanda and all over the world. We've got clicks of our books from as far away as Asian countries. And this is something unprecedented. We had never sold any hard copy there. The second thing we decided to do was product diversification. We have been a publisher of school books for primary and secondary for too long. Actually, most of our history, we've actually been doing that. But we decided to diversify that and added the early childhood education department, which is now fully stocked with books and ready to go. We have a tertiary department, which was not there before, and with lots of products in medical, accountancy, woodwork, metalwork, and everything else. So all for the TVET institutions. And we've also gone and revamped our creative works for children and adults. These are the storybooks. And so there's quite a bit that has been done on the product range. And finally, the geographical diversification. We were in about 5 countries. Now we are at 11 countries with the same funds.
Very well. Finally, I want to find out from you, do you see the future of hard books?
Yes, I do. To be honest with you, they will always run alongside the digital copies for as long as we live. The reason is, the book, being a repository of knowledge and perceived as such across the world, it is very unlikely that it will be completely wiped out and replaced. What will happen is that they will just work side by side. But for the school system, and where you need to save money, and where you are dealing with millions and millions of people, we will probably see more digital products being there. But for our day-to-day learning, and our storybooks and our newspapers and other things, I would imagine that those will continue to run alongside. So we should still continue having both in place.
We'll be watching closely to see whether your prophecy is coming to pass.
Thank you. Thank you very much
indeed, Simon, for joining us here.
Thank you.
Simon Ngigi is the Managing Director of Longhorn Publishers, joining us here on the Trading Bell to help us understand where the publishing industry is going. This is the Trading Bell. You don't need to go anywhere. Stay right here. We are back shortly.
Thank you very much.
Asante sana.
Thank you.
Figures of the losers and gainers at the Nairobi Securities Exchange in the last 1 week, and of course the shocker there is Eveready, East Africa, jumping by 61.82%. Elizabeth Wangeshi is the head of research at Genghis Capital. She's joining us here to help us put the figures into perspective. Thank you very much indeed, Wangeshi. When you look at East Africa, Eveready East Africa, there's a huge jump. Why this?
Thank you for having me. We've seen that rally on Eveready. Mostly it's coming from investors rushing in to buy the stock. They recently announced a special dividend, and that motivates most investors to actually get into the stock so that they can get the dividend yield on that stock. So we've been seeing that, and we don't expect it to be sustained in the long term. It's just the short run because of the dividend.
So what I'm getting from you that this rally is not built on enduring principles. This is purely on investors who are hungry for dividends.
Yes.
So it's not going to last for quite a long time.
We don't expect it to last. One of it because when you look at the fundamentals and also the financial performance of Eveready, in the past years it hasn't been that good, and we don't expect to see much improvement coming in the years. So the only confidence investors are getting is just from the issue of the dividend. Yes.
And looking at the four indices of the market, all but one market has fared badly, and that is the NSE 20 share index, depreciating by 0.63%. What would you attribute this to?
Well, we've seen foreign inflows coming into the market, that is one, but it's been averaging around 70%. So the most interest you've seen is on large counters, the likes of Safaricom, KCB, Equity Group. So we've seen different reactions of investors coming in to buy and also selling mostly on large counters. So that has affected the market. And also when you look at the top losing counters, likes of ARM Cement, it's highly depreciated. And the reason to that is when you look at its financial performance. So again, it's overall performance of most of the companies. Most prices have been coming down in a huge way. Yes.
And going forward, do we expect, to see this performance, have a dramatic shift, or we expect the status to remain as quo?
We do expect to see a dramatic shift. One, our economy is stable, apart from now inflation levels which are a bit up, but we do expect it to come down in the coming months because again the food prices are coming. We're expecting them to remain stable. Again, when you look at why investors are shying away from the market is mostly because of the political environment. But what you're getting from investors is that most of them are looking to get into the market because, again, all of the counters are very highly discounted, and this gives the best opportunities for every investors to actually invest in the stock market. Yes.
Let's go back to the top gainers, and when we look at Deacon's East Africa, we know for sure some of their stores, they are behind schedule in terms of opening. For example, the Two Rivers. Why have we seen a dramatic shift here of of 10%. Why the change?
Oh, okay, the change on Dinkons is mostly on speculative. Most investors are building up on their portfolios on the counter, but you can't base it on the financial performance because the recent financial performance they released was not that impressive.
Exactly.
So basically what is driving the price is just the demand that is building up and the fact that also the number of shares that is available also, because the quantity is small, it also appreciates the price in a high order. Yeah.
And finally, when we look at, Uchumi supermarket, do you expect this to continue?
Well, for Uchumi, it's a different case. I mean, we've seen Uchumi struggling over the past years, and new management has come in. I would say the whole retail segment is struggling. So for Uchumi, the turnaround, of course, it's expected to be gradual, but not immediate. So for Uchumi, for any investor looking at it, it's more of a long-term stock to look at it. Yeah, because
So
again, for the performance, it's really quite gradual.
So
Yes.
for Uchumi, you're predicting a more of red than
Yes.
green.
Yes.
Elizabeth, thank you very much indeed for joining us here.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Elizabeth Wangeshi is the head of research at Genghis Capital, joining us here to help us put the figures into perspective. You're watching the Trading Bell. You don't need to go anywhere. We are back shortly. Stay right here.
A bull run is a situation where the market prices, stock prices are deemed to be moving upwards, and investors perceive the situation that the prices will still continue moving upwards, while the bear run is a situation where the market prices are depressed and they're still moving downwards, and still the investors have the feeling that the stock prices will still be depressed at the levels.
Well, and that's all the time we had for you today. Many thanks indeed for joining us. You have been watching the Trading Bell. We always encourage to get in touch with us. Our Facebook page is the Trading Bell TV show. Our SMS line is 22162. And always remember to start with the word BASE. Our Twitter page is at the Trading Bell. And of course, my Twitter handle is at O'Brien Kimani. We look forward to having you again on Thursday next week, same time right here on KBC Channel 1. On behalf of the entire Trading Bell TV crew, thank you very much. And do have yourself a good night. We take you back now to Broadcasting House. Bye for now.